Welcome back, history buffs and scandal enthusiasts, to another exciting episode of The Gossip Historian. This is the place where we spill tea like it's 1773, and today, we're going to spill a whole pot. We're about to dive into scandalous stories, intrigues, and affairs that make modern dramas look like child's play. Today, we're turning back the hands of time to the 16th century, to the court of King Henry VIII, to the life of a woman who knew how to make heads roll, literally. So grab your quills and scrolls, it's time to delve into the life of the one, the only Anne Boleyn. Hold on to your ruffs, folks. Ever wonder what life was like for a scandalous queen in the 16th century? If you think your life is a roller coaster, you haven't heard anything yet. Anne was a woman who knew how to stir the pot, and boy did she stir it well. From her humble beginnings to her rise as the Queen of England and her swift and tragic end, Anne's life was nothing short of a whirlwind. She was a woman of many firsts and many lasts. With affairs, accusations, and an execution to boot, she was the talk of the town, and she still is centuries later. You think the Kardashians have drama? They've got nothing on Anne. Born into nobility, Anne was destined to be a player in the Game of Thrones. No, not that one. Anne Boleyn, the enigmatic second wife of King Henry VIII, was the daughter of Sir Thomas Boleyn and his wife, Lady Elizabeth Howard. A family with more ambition than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Anne's early life reads like a fairy tale if Cinderella was sent off to the Netherlands and France to learn how to be posh. She was educated by Margaret of Austria, who was basically the Miss Honey of the 16th century. Anne was taught everything a young noblewoman needed to know, from playing the lute to speaking French, and that ever-important skill of batting her eyelashes at the right people. As a teenager, Anne returned to England and entered the court of King Henry, all set to play her role in the Tudor soap opera. But Anne's life was about to go from 0 to 100 real quick. Enter King Henry VIII, a man with a wandering eye and a serious problem with commitment. Now this is where the plot thickens. Anne Boleyn, our leading lady, had caught the roving eye of the king himself. And let's be real here, Henry wasn't the kind of man who appreciated subtlety. He was already hitched to Catherine of Aragon. But let's just say he was ready to swipe right on someone else. Flashback to the early 1500s, Henry was smitten. And I mean head over heels, tweeting about it every day, smitten with Anne. She was the royal equivalent of the high school cheerleader. And Henry, well, he was the quarterback with a bad case of puppy love. But there was one teeny tiny problem. His wife, Catherine of Aragon. Yeah, remember her? The Spanish princess he'd been married to for over 2 decades. Now, Anne wasn't just some side chick. She was the main course, the prime rib, the creme de la creme. She had Henry wrapped around her little finger, and she knew it. She played hard to get, rebuffing his advances and refusing to become his mistress. This wasn't some teenage drama, folks. This was a full-blown royal soap opera, with the King of England himself playing the desperate suitor. Henry, however, wasn't the type to take no for an answer. He decided to take the divide-and-conquer approach. If he couldn't have Anne as his mistress, he would have her as his queen. So he decided to break up with Catherine. And by breakup, I mean he created his own church, the Church of England, just so he could divorce her. Talk about being extra. So what did Anne do during all this? She played the long game. She kept Henry on tenterhooks, dangling the possibility of marriage like a carrot on a stick. And that's how Anne Boleyn, the daughter of a mere knight, became the obsession of the most powerful man in England. But as we all know, what the king wants, the king gets. With a new wife comes new drama, and boy was there plenty of that. Once Anne Boleyn snagged that coveted queen title, she ascended to a world of royal luxuries, elaborate dresses, and a whole lot of side-eye. You see, not everyone was thrilled about King Henry's new arm candy. In fact, many saw Anne as a homewrecker with a crown. And then there was the baby drama. Anne gave birth to a daughter, Elizabeth, who would later become one of the most iconic monarchs in England's history. But unfortunately, the stork's subsequent visits weren't as fruitful. After a series of miscarriages, the whispers started. People began to question Anne's ability to produce a male heir, and that's when the royal honeymoon phase started to look more like a Shakespearean tragedy. In the court of public opinion, Anne was like that one Kardashian who just can't catch a break. Rumors swirled about her like bees to a honeypot. Some called her a witch, others accused her of incest, and a few even claimed she had a 6th finger. Talk about a manicure nightmare. But Anne, ever the queen, handled it all with the grace of a swan navigating a pond full of piranhas. She continued to play her role, to wear her crown, and to endure the prying eyes and whispering mouths. In a world that was hell-bent on seeing her fall, she stood tall, proving that the crown wasn't just a pretty accessory, but a symbol of her resilience. But let's face it, being queen isn't all it's cracked up to be. It's not just about wearing fancy gowns, waving at peasants, and feasting on swan pies. It's about power, politics, and a whole lot of pressure. It's about navigating through a maze of expectations, judgments, and rumors. So next time you're daydreaming about being royalty, remember Anne Boleyn. Remember the scandal, the drama, and the hardships she endured. And remember, it's not easy being queen. But all good things must come to an end, right? Ladies and gents, we've reached the part of our story where things get, shall we say, a little dicey for our dear Queen Anne. You see, as it turns out, being a queen isn't all tiaras and royal feasts. Sometimes it involves facing some rather nasty accusations. Picture this. You're at the height of your power, adored by the king, and then one day you're slapped with accusations of adultery, incest, and treason. Yeah, not exactly the kind of drama you'd want to put on your royal CV. Now here's where things get a little complicated. Adultery? Incest? Treason? These are some serious charges. And yet, they were thrown at Anne like confetti at a wedding. She was accused of having affairs with 5 men. 5! That's not just a fling, that's a full-blown soap opera. And one of those men was her own brother, George. Talk about keeping it in the family, right? But wait, there's more. The cherry on top of this scandal Sunday was the charge of treason. This wasn't just any old treason, oh no. This was high treason, an offense punishable by death. The claim? That Anne had plotted to kill the king, her husband, the father of her child. You can't make this stuff up. So what happens next? Well, Anne was arrested, tried, and sentenced to death. All in the span of a few short weeks. Talk about a rough month. And what was her crime, really? Being too ambitious, too clever, too alluring, or perhaps just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. But the wheels of fate were already in motion. The accusations, true or not, had done their damage. Anne's days were numbered. She was executed on the Tower Green on May 19, 1536. And just like that, Anne's reign was over. So, what's the tea on Anne Boleyn? Well, let's spill it, shall we? Anne Boleyn, the woman who rocked the English throne, was a scandal magnet. She was a trendsetter in her own right, but her love life? That was a full-blown soap opera. She was a commoner who caught the eye of King Henry VIII. You know, the guy who had a thing for wives and chopping blocks. She knew the Game of Thrones better than anyone else, and played it like a pro. She didn't just become the king's mistress. Oh no, she had her sights set on the crown. So, Anne said, I do to Henry, becoming wife number 2 and Queen of England. But here's the kicker. Henry had to break from the Catholic Church to marry her. Talk about a plot twist. But hey, all's fair in love and war, right? Yet being the queen wasn't all tiaras and tea parties. Anne's reign was marred with rumors and accusations. People whispered about her flirtatious ways and supposed affairs. And let's not forget the small matter of her not producing a male heir. But things really hit the fan when Anne was accused of witchcraft, incest, and treason. Yes, you heard that right. Witchcraft, incest, treason, the trifecta of scandal, and Henry, our not-so-heroic king, turned a blind eye, probably already eyeing wife number 3. The result? Anne's reign ended not with a bang, but with a blade. She was executed in 1536, her life cut short like a bad TV series canceled too soon. But here's the thing. Despite her tragic end, Anne Boleyn left an indelible mark on history. She was a woman who dared to defy conventions, to challenge the status quo. She was a woman who dared to dream, and for that, she paid the ultimate price. And there you have it, the scandalous life of Anne Boleyn. Remember, history is a lot more interesting when you add a little drama. And so, we reach the end of our scandalous journey with Anne Boleyn, a woman who dared to dream, who dared to break rules, and who dared to love. But as we know, all stories have a moral. So what can we learn from Anne's life? Is it the danger of ambition, the fickleness of love? Or maybe it's a lesson about the high price of defying the norms. With Anne, it's all of the above and more. Her story is a testament to the power of courage, conviction, and yes, a bit of scandal. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, one can leave an indelible mark on history. And it's a reflection of the fact that sometimes, the most fascinating stories are the ones that are whispered in hushed tones behind closed doors. So, the next time you think history is boring, remember Anne Boleyn and her scandalous life. Remember that history is not just about dates and wars, it's about people, their dreams, their scandals, and their stories. Thank you for joining us on this scandalous journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more juicy, scandalous lessons in history. Stay curious, stay scandalous.